according to reports, the FBI and its team of highly skilled criminal profilers will release the Nashville shooter Audrey Hale's manifesto once they say they conduct, quote, an in-depth analysis. In these situations, it's now standard procedure for officials to wipe the suspect's social media pages and selectively release the details as they see fit. In this case, we've waited days to get a full picture of who Audrey Hale was and why she was committed to this heinous crime against Christians. Joining me now is senior advisor to President Trump and former CEO of Getter, Jason Miller. Hey, Jason, long time no see, man. Great to have you back. Have you noticed that when details in a case help the Democrats and biased press advance their narrative over news, those details leak out right away. They're out there in your face. But when indications that a high-profile case may undermine the narrative pushed by Democrats in the press to their disadvantage, details are scarce or slow to trickle out.
Chris, I think you make the point exactly. And first of all, what a horrific tragedy that we're seeing in Tennessee, and the loss of children like this, the impact on the community, the families, absolutely terrible. And it's something that no one should ever have to see. And I really wish that at a certain point, these politicians would wake up and enact some of the policies that President Trump put forward with regard to hardening schools, having armed security guards in schools, things like that. That is a critical necessity that we need to put in place to keep our kids safe. It is so scary that this hasn't been done yet. Now, with regard to the FBI profiling and even the way the media is treating this tragedy in Tennessee, it never fails to amaze me that the political left and their allies in the media come jumping in to play politics when there's a tragedy of this nature. And we all know the reason why they're not as upfront with the profile and things of that nature is simply because the shooter is trans. And the way that there are these two separate systems, whether it be law enforcement or the media, the way that this is covered, I think it really puts it in a terrible perspective.
Influencer Jack Posobiec, in the meantime, pointing out that no woke corporations like Amazon, Disney, or Google released messages of solidarity or support for the Christian community in the wake of this attack. These same companies, they trip all over themselves, Jason, to elevate the Democrats' flavor of the month, whatever it is, changing their logos in this case to help drive division among our people, instead of just doing their businesses and then serving everybody. The woke corporations and their silence on this shooting is deafening, no?
Now, I think, again, that's another spot on point, Chris. And the way that the woke corporations come running in anytime that someone fits a certain profile. But again, when you have someone who has a certain identification issue when it comes to their gender or anything that doesn't fit their preconceived notion, then they ignore it. And I think that's a real shame.
All right, let's you and I hit the campaign. New surveys showing President Trump has expanded his lead in the GOP primary race. 54% support, Governor Ron DeSantis behind at 24%. This is in the wake of the unprecedented perversion of our justice system trying to get Trump at all costs. He predicted the left would be his most reliable asset. Was he right on?
I think so, but there's more to it than just that. So the most recent poll, another network put it out, showing President Trump at 54 and Governor Ron DeSantis at 24, a 30-point lead in the Republican primary for the 24 nomination, shows that President Trump has gone up 11 points over the past month, and DeSantis has gone down 4. So that's a net swing of 15 points. So instead of a 15-point lead, it's now a 30-point lead. Couple reasons here. Yes, the point that you make about the perversion of our criminal justice system and our injustice system, as President Trump, I think, correctly calls it with a Manhattan DA. But also, I think Governor DeSantis has made a fatal misstep here in these early stages, attacking President Trump, essentially using some of the same language that Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, is using, attacking President Trump and taking the wrong positions on things such as Ukraine and ethanol, Social Security and Medicare. And now that he's loading up his campaign in his super PAC with a lot of people who are considered never Trumpers, Ron DeSantis has now made himself really the Paul Ryan, Jeb Bush establishment candidate in this race. Not a good place to be if you're going up against President Trump.
Wow. Okay. Well, I have never heard DeSantis compared to Paul Ryan, but I mean, that's a first. One of the biggest criticism, though, Jason, of President Trump, even among his most rabid supporters, is that he allowed permanent Washington or the deep state to remain in place and undermine his administration the entire way through. In his speech in Waco, he said that communist sympathizers inside the government would be the first to go. Let me ask, does he have a plan to achieve this? And is that why you think we see unprecedented efforts to stop him?
Well, and one of the policy videos President Trump recently put out is about taking on the deep state and completing the mission that he started when he was sworn in 2017. You know, I recently was with President Trump, maybe it was a few months back, and he was asked, what is the one thing that you would change if you could have changed it going back to the early days? And President Trump made the point that he was trying to bring the Republican Party together, and he brought some folks on board who didn't necessarily have the exact same ideology and the same America First perspective. They may have been Republicans, and this is why it's so critical, why you have to have an America First Republican and not just someone who has a Republican next to their name, is because if they don't support the mission, if they haven't bought in on this goal of draining the swamp, fighting the unelected bureaucrats, then you get the same old status quo. So I think President Trump in this next administration, every single person that comes in is going to believe the America First agenda and in the effort to make America great again, because fighting the swamp is tough, and as President Trump has found out, the swamp fights back.
Jason Miller, thank you very much, man. Appreciate the visit as always. Come back soon.